if they get it, you have less. That's the point.
That's about to be loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're gonna have a next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
So I was at Wicked Funny, and you were there, and that was fun. And I did the wheel that I was afraid of. Flashback last podcast. That sucks. You have to do a wheel. Flash forward back to now, and I was like, man, is that gonna take me out of the ability to get into the zone? And I gotta say, it was pretty good. It was just like it was more adrenaline based than sometimes I go up maybe too calm, and that like had me on edge.
I really like it. Like I feel like it benefited me a little bit. I'm not saying that other people weren't as comfortable, but I was just ready at all times. Like it didn't matter when for me, and I wonder if maybe some other people might have been a little nervous about not knowing when to go up. But I mean, they were all working comics, or essentially going up all the time. So I don't know if it really played that much of a role, but I felt extremely comfortable with the randomness of it.
Yeah. Well, news alert, everybody! Your boy Anthony's also in the finals. So Wayne, Anthony, Jacques, Carlos C, Maz, Freddie Sabelle.
Yep.
So that's what we got so far. And then we got one more week here to see who next we fight to the death.
Yeah. Just a couple of days
now we know
from tonight. Yeah, we'll know when this drops, but right now we don't.
We'll know because it's the past and the future. Everybody, it's X-Men: Days of Futures Past. I am Rogue. Right? Would you see me? Can I be Carmen Electra? Rogue? Is that Rogue? Who's Carmen Electra play? Do you know this?
I don't. It definitely wasn't Rogue. I don't think it was Rogue.
We need a phone a Jacques button to have here where we could just bring him in on the podcast at any moment in time and be like, Jacques, what was the name of the Ewok in on the planet of Endor and Empire Strikes Back? It's Return of the Jedi, the dumbass. See, that's what he would say if he would call in. So, anyways, tangent aside, how are you?
Yeah, good. So it was good. Yeah, it was good to see you make it into the finals as well. That's going to be fun putting that together. We were told it's 7-minute sets, different judges, probably similar audience, but mostly different. So, still use that best 5 and add a couple minutes, or maybe tweak it a little bit. But that'll be fun. It'll be fun curating that.
Yeah, I'm excited I made it because I didn't bring anybody, so at least I don't have to have them like come back and see the same set again. So if anybody comes to the finals, they'll see it fresh.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm excited to do it. That room that was the best set I've ever had, so I should say that for sure. As far as like,
yeah, that was your first time in that room.
Yeah, that room is lit.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible.
Good. I don't know how they do it. It's Chinese food magic. They are so good at having comedy clubs. Doesn't make any sense, but they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. That was fucking fun. But yeah, all right. So we're in now. We're in the driver's seat of this podcast, Wayne, and we're gonna give people some tips on things that we've learned now that we've been doing shows a lot, and we have a lot of them. I have a lot myself. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about this because this coming week I have nothing going on. So I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to go to a mic or two. And I was like, thinking about when we first started this podcast, we talked about tips from our perspective back then, which is only a couple months in. Now we're a year and a half in. And I was kind of thinking about how our tips would differ now, having been doing this a while, learning what we learned and meeting who we've met, and we've obviously talked to a lot of people on this podcast. So that'd be fun to talk about older us.
It's changed so much.
Really
Anything
has.
I would tell you in like 6 months ago, you should not listen to. Just because I felt differently about a lot of things. Like the one big one, I'll start off with this. I was very against, like, I don't want to say making clean material, but
Yeah.
I guess I was. I didn't have any. So my thought was, well, I'm not going to make some just to have some. I'm going to do my jokes. And if they don't like me, they can go fuck themselves. And I do still think if you feel that way, that's fine. But man, after doing fundraisers, after doing hosting gigs, and after doing opening at, like private gigs or something like that. I did a private gig at a yacht club. And, you have to do things differently there if you want it to go well. If you don't care and you're like, I don't care if I bomb, then do it the same way every time and do your other jokes. But I've been way more tailoring sets to the job than I'd ever have before. And I really like that method a lot better. I'm so much more confident going on stage going, all right, I can, this is safe. This will do good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. But I think that advice would really depend on what you're looking to get out of comedy. That's something else that I've kind of come to terms with, I think. Maybe that's the term. What are you looking for in comedy? Are you looking to get booked on shows? Are you looking to become a feature? Are you looking to become a host? Are you looking to become a headliner eventually? Or are you happy just doing open mics and telling jokes to comics? Are you looking to get an occasional showcase? I think it really depends on what you're looking to do and how you should tailor your material.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
And I think that it happens naturally is a big bit of advice now that I think too, where, for instance, if you asked a year ago if I would tell you that, like, you got to be making tape, you got to be sending it to bookers, you got to be, we said that, we got to get a really good tape and blah, blah, blah. And I really don't think that anymore. Like, I think you could have a tape, sure, and you're going to need to send one around. But I think if you just write material and you keep working it out at open mics and you keep getting time, you're going to be very valuable very quickly, and your word is going to spread, and you're going to get booked on things. It just happens.
Yeah, I would go in the opposite direction of that. I think you should have a tape, like an updated tape at all times, but I think it's fucking useless sending it to anybody. I can't tell you how many times I've sent tape to a booker, and they're just like, I don't watch tape. So I think the most
Well, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. It's important to have a tape because just for the fact of making it, but like you said, I don't think it's useful.
No, I've even had places like the Comedy Gong Show in Laugh Boston. That whole thing they were doing, they were like, "Yeah, send us tape," and what, blah blah blah. And I sent a YouTube clip, and I know for a fact they didn't look at it. So like, why?
Yeah,
you see the view counter; it doesn't go up. So I think the most important thing in terms if you are looking to get booked or get on more shows or whatever is networking. And we said it in the beginning. Too at the same time, like if you're free on a Friday or a Saturday night, don't go seeking out an open mic. Go to a Mike Atroba show. Go to a Jim McHugh show. Go to one of these rooms where you're going to meet a headliner or meet other comics. Watch them. You get better by watching how other comics perform. Comics that have been doing it longer than you that are more tenured. And the networking part of it is key. And don't go and beg people for spots. That's not the way to do it. You're going to piss people off that way. But go just be a cool person.
Yes, the internet has told us that, huh? I saw that.
Yeah. But
don't
go to
do
shows,
that.
watch shows, support shows, and just meet people. I think that's key. That trumps tape.
Yeah, it does. And I get turned off by the word networking when it comes to comedy because I'm like, I don't want to do it then. Because when you say the word networking. But I think more what I know now is that you don't have to do anything but just show up to the show, introduce yourself, and sit down and watch the show. That's as much networking as you really need to do because a lot of the time, and some of the time, they'll let you go up. And then you can show your skills and get booked that way. So I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying even for the person that doesn't like the word networking.
Yeah. I mean, networking in comedy is really just going for the hang. right? Because you go
Well, like we talked about, there's a big problem in the Boston comedy community for a person who went and did that. But they were, it's obvious sometimes when people are doing it for spots. It's a nuanced thing that you got to do where you have to network by, supporting the show, but don't look like a thirsty bitch. It's gonna be key. You can't do that. If you're like
you ain't you ain't pregnant, bitch. You thirsty.
exactly. Exactly. You
That is
need
my
to
favorite
drink.
clip that I've seen this year.
I like water. Yeah,
You're
these
craving
bitches.
things. Oh, like water. Oh, you're craving water.
Yeah, 1,000 Pound Sisters. If you haven't seen it, folks, holy shit, is that the funniest thing in the world? Those ladies are big, sentient hippos that they film for our pleasure. That's what they are. Yeah. So I mean, I know this happened. We're not going to talk about the guy that it happened to or any of that because it's none of our business really in the long run of things. I'm more just highlighting that this is, if we're going to talk about tips and we're going to talk about networking, this is a huge example of how to, you can overstep it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to shows and you're inserting yourself into the future shows, or you're like, I saw somebody once at a show that wasn't on it go, and they were like talking to like the bar staff about like, I hope I'm on the next ones or all that kind of stuff, like hinting and saying their names a bunch of times. And it was lame. So it's tough because supporting it means sometimes that you're just, I think it's good to go up to a booker and say, hey, my name's X, love a shot at any of your shows, thank you very much. And then that's completely fine, I think. But I think one time, and then you guys gotta go and watch the shows, say, hey, how you doing, and sit down and remind them every quarter. What do you think's a good remind? I know every booker's different, but let's say you had to do a blanket, I'm going to remind you.
I don't know that you have. I mean, if you go to enough of the shows and you're meeting the same person, you're like, I don't want to use a real name, but let's just say like, let's use Mike Katrobis. It's a real name, but whatever. Let's just use him as an example. You go to a Mic'd Up production show the first time, you recognize Mike. Hey, Mike, I'm Wayne, local comic. Nice to meet you, or whatever. If any opportunities ever come up, blah, blah, blah.
I hate you, Wayne. I hate your head, and I hate your shirt, and I'll never remember you. And then you got to do that. Well, how many times do you think? Like 7, 8 times in this fantasy?
Well, I mean, let's say the following month you make it to another one. Just walk up, say, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" And say, "Wayne." Oh yeah, okay. He may not remember you, but maybe a couple weeks later you find another show. He's got Steve York somewhere. You go watch Steve York work. And once again, you go up and, hey, Mike, what's going on? How are you? And eventually he's going to get to know you. And he's going to see that you're supporting him, not just financially, but being there, being a body for the comics that he's hiring. And at some point, he might go to the other comics, like, hey, do you know Wayne? And they're like, yeah. No, he's pretty funny. He's good. Or maybe it'll work against you. I don't know. But eventually he's going to go, hey, you want to do 5 minutes? And then you get a chance to do 5 minutes and you'll have your shot. If it goes well, he'll definitely remember you. If it doesn't, maybe months later you get another shot.
It's true. The turning point to me getting more gigs and moving past the I hate you phase of bookers looking at me was I got asked to do a 5-minute guest spot on a Christine Hurley show. We talked about that in the past. And that's it. It was a 5 to 7. It was here you've been going to a couple shows, give it a shot, and I fucking murdered, and that was it. I got booked a lot from there just by doing that. A lot of vines have spread, a lot of things that have done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Do that.
Yeah.
Crush if you can. If you can be really good at stand up when you do it, it will be better for you. That's a good tip.
That would be another tip too. Dobie said it when we had him on the first time. He said, I want you to have a 5-minute set that forwards and backwards. You can say it in your sleep. You can say it in order, out of order. You can say it from the middle. You can say it whatever. Have that 5 minutes that you know is incredible, so that when Mike tells you, "Hey, I want you to do 5 minutes," you can go up and you can do that 5 minutes and you can fucking own it. I think that's very important as well.
Yeah, people time. I didn't think people book. I thought once you got to a certain level, bookers don't time anymore. They all time, folks. So.
Oh, they time. They time because they, the sweet spot is about an hour and a half for a show. And if they're going to give you 5 minutes and you end up going 8, where are they taking that 3 minutes away?
You know what's something I didn't want to do before, but I think I'm going to do now? Well, I'm at least going to try now, starting in the past last Friday, which is this Friday in real time, is use a timer on stage.
I would love to do that. I've actually thought about getting like a small, cheap digital watch, and then when I step up, just go boink.
Yeah, I mean the Apple Watches are a thing for sure. I normally wear a regular watch, so that's it's tough for me, and I don't like looking at the watch when I go. But if you're gonna do a 15-minute plus set, at least in my body, you have to have a water there. So I figure if I have a timer going and like doing the closing set that I'm doing this week, I don't think it's fucked up to have a timer there to see where you're at. And
just get like one of those like bell alarm clocks. Like a 25 minutes set for 25.
Yes, exactly. But yeah. So you think that's okay? You don't think that's a crazy thing to do?
Yeah, of course it is.
I've seen a bunch of headliners do it.
Honestly, you know what would be a really, really cool idea? Have you ever seen those clocks that that project onto the wall?
Yeah.
Imagine being a host and just having your time, like a timer just on the back of the wall where, everybody's looking that way and you're looking so you can see your time.
Well, no, they have a thing that you can buy. Like it'd be so lame if you took it with you, but it's a monitor, a time monitor that's meant to sit on the floor in front of you on a stage that has like a black slope, so people can't see it.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can get those and you can set it on whatever you want, put it in front of you, and no one would see it, and it would be awesome.
Yeah.
I guess if you sit on the side of the stages, you might be able to see it. But yeah,
but even then, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think people kind of in general realize that a comic has X amount of time on stage.
It's true. It would just feel better, like especially this week where I got to do a really long set, and I'm like, man, it would be nice to know where I'm at, so I know roughly if I forgot a joke or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can do lots of tips. What else you got?
So one of the things that I've thought about too is, so back when we first started, and I don't think we said this as a tip, but we would go to open mics and we would try to just do different material because we were going to the Safe all the time. We were going to Strange Brew all the time, trying to do different materials so people weren't hearing the same thing. Throw that out the window. You were not there to make those people laugh. You were there to work through material. You were there to get comfortable saying it, hear yourself saying it, record it, listen back. So just do this. Just pick jokes, pick your 5-minute set, do it, listen back. If you don't like something, cool, take it out, add something in. But make sure you keep a good chunk of what you did and just keep working on it. Because if you're switching every set, you're never going to know what works and what doesn't. And like I cringe to think about some of the stuff that I might have thrown away and never wrote down. But now if I were to look at it, it's like, oh shit, there was something there.
Yeah. And just by doing it out loud, you might say it differently. And if you just not even writing wise, just you said it differently that night. Here's a big one. So California Sober, the last punchline that I have in it goes to San Francisco Straight. We all know the bit. But I had I had the perspective of myself when I was doing the example of it, which was my wife has called this silly, and one time she called it gay. So that's the setup to the final punchline. And one night I was like, and you know how all of our wives feel. Sometimes they call it silly, and then you say to them. So I put it into like the audience's hands of what it was, and that was just a random thing because I do it so much of the bit at shows. It's a good show starter for me. That I think that's a way better way to run it. I've been getting a lot more buy-in to my final punchline with that, using that perspective. And if I just said, I'm never doing it, like I got that bit, it's good to go, put it on the shelf, I get to it when I get to it, I wouldn't change it. So you should be doing your material as much as you can. Now, If you're booked a couple times a week and you go to an open mic a couple times a week, I completely understand. Just like, hey, this is a good bit. I'm gonna only do new shit all the time at open mics, for sure. But if you're primarily doing them, you have to repeat.
I think that's a different scenario. So if you're doing book shows and you know something works, you need to put that aside and work on only new material. And when I'm saying repeat, it's take that new material and repeat that until you get it to a workable point where you can do it in front of a real crowd, and then you can work on it at the real crowds when it's serviceable, right?
Yeah.
You know,
And work, it's a big tip too. Oh, huge tippity tip. Go into your joke book. Go a year back if you've been doing it longer than a year, and look at jokes that you didn't, that you wrote down that you're like, it's not good enough, and you didn't work on. Because my new closer is a bit from that. I wrote just a couple lines of I went to the zoo in London last year, very close to when I started doing comedy, and I saw that the tigers were sad. And I just wrote that down. And then I had to start putting some more material together because I'm doing longer sets now. And I got asked to do a couple 20-minute plus sets, so I'm like, I have to fucking get some, new blood in. And I went to my joke book from about a year ago, and I was like, let me work on this with my newfound ability to deliver jokes that I didn't have a year ago. And again, it's my closer now, and certain sets I use it as that. It's that strong of a joke for me, and you've seen it a couple times now, and I think that you like it too. So that's a big wealth of material that you might already have jokes that you don't even know you have. So
yep. I just did that the other night. I sent it to you. I have like 50 pages of notes and ideas and this and that on my phone or my Google Drive or whatever. And I sat one night for like an hour and a half and I skimmed through every single one of them. And I color coded everything based on, all right, I'm going to drop that. That's complete trash. I'm never going to look at that again. This is like, this color is, I'm using this in my set now. Maybe not in that form or whatever, but then I have like I'm working on this, and then I have there's something here. I like that idea. And I was surprised at how many things I found from pages 1, 2, and 3. I was like, oh, I like that idea. I just had no idea what to do with it. So I kind of color coded it in such a way I can go back to it and kind of work on it. So here's a tip. Keep all your notes. And like you said, go back and look at them from time to time. You'll be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, I mean, you will also want to unalive yourself immediately after seeing some of the jokes that you have back then.
What's the unalive thing? Why is everybody saying that?
Oh, because
why are we using more syllables to say kill?
Hold on. Let me tell you why, Wayne, before you get us fucking shadow banned. On YouTube, if you say unalive someone or themselves, you won't get shot right down the algorithm rabbit hole and not seen by anybody. But if you say K-yo, you get it, then you're dead. You're fucking dead. No one will see this video.
So we can say cunt, but we can't say kill.
It's probably not great to say cunt as much either, because I'm sure that hurts the thing. Notice we haven't been saying it that much. Views have been up. But
that's true. I just don't get it. It's like it's like telling your kid, like, hey, you can't call your mom a bitch. You can say she's a witch. It means the same thing. We know what you're saying.
We know what you're saying. Yeah, I know. But
YouTube is treating us like children.
Alas, if you have a problem with it, unalive yourself. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is the big thing about comedy, too, that I think it changed for my perspective of is to realize that it's a random occurrence of things are going to be the key to you. Talked to Lloyd Legacy Sharp on what we did an episode with before, and it took him 2 years of doing open mics before he did his first any kind of show. So, and I'm sure it happened randomly. He just was around enough, he talked to enough people, and it sparked. There was a thing open, he got a spot. And then now Mofo does shows all the time. So that's the fucking, you're going to feel a month in that you are like, all right, now's the next step. I got to get into shows or I'm a piece of shit. And in reality, it's going to fucking happen when you can do 10 solid minutes. Don't you worry. You just got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the thing too. You should have 10 solid minutes before you start trying to get on shows.
Yeah,
I thought
if
it
you
was
want to.
I thought it was going to be 5-minute guest spots, do a bunch, and then work out. But nope, it was the first show that I did. They initially wanted me to do 15, and I was like, I'm just going to start rambling at some point. And then I got there like, only 10. I was like, okay, I'm going to start rambling at some point. And ended up going okay. But yeah, I don't know. It's 10, I think, is the sweet spot if you want to start getting on shows.
Here, I'll break it down. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You just became like DJ Rob Bass. What the fuck was that?
That was a Fresco bubble. It made me a man, as Fresco will do for you. Jesus. All right, so here's the time slots. Ready? Okay, so if you want to be an opener at this is all. I'm going to break it down by showcase, and I'm going to break it down by a traditional comedy show. And by traditional comedy show, I'm talking about you got an opener, feature, headliner. So those are the two ways we're going to look at it. Showcase, you're going to be anywhere. That's the crazy one. You're going to be between 7 and 15 minutes usually on showcases. There could be headliners to headline showcases that they usually do between 20 and 25 minutes. But that's that kind of facet. When you're first getting into comedy, I think you're going to see a lot of those. So try to give yourself anywhere between 7 and 10 minutes, and I think you're going to be fine in those. However, there is a step above the traditional comedy show when you start working with real heavy hitter headliners and then a real feature before. The real feature before is going to do 25 minutes. The headliner does 45 minutes. And then in turn, they're looking for you to do at least 15. So they say kind of life starts at 15 for you. And then they call a soft feature somebody that could do between 20 and 25 minutes, up to 30 for a strong feature, 25 to 30. And then outside of that, you need to be like 30 to 45 for headlining most things around here. Not a lot of places ask you to do an hour, but if you make the big bucks, they're going to have you do that, especially in those kind of shows. Shows are going to be anywhere from an hour 20 to an hour 30. So there you go. That's the timeline. Oh, here's a tip. Ready for this? I worked with Harrison Stebbins, and he's so funny. But I ask everybody who I work with that's great at comedy why everybody likes me 20% less when I host. That's the question, everybody. I don't only ask him on the podcast, I ask him in real life. And he had a great fucking metaphor for hosting. I don't even know if I told you this. He said, basically, when this show starts, we're in the woods and there's a murderer after us trying to kill us. And you're the host. So what we're going to do is tell you to go run in the complete opposite direction so that the murderer goes after you. And then in turn, we have a better show. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. He's like, so you're going to get killed in the beginning for us.
God,
but the show will be better. He came up with that on the spot, he said, by the way. I don't know if I believe him. I have to now.
I mean, you come up with shit on the spot like that.
Yeah, it was so good, though. I felt it.
That was really good.
And then he's like, "No, go host." And I want fucking. Oh, yeah. So just know that is my point too, because when you're doing open mics for a while, and then you start getting booked on showcases, and you start crushing on showcases, you might start getting opportunities to host things, and then you're gonna go, "What, have I ever even done comedy before?" And know that your people like the host less. They do. I'm sorry.
That's another good tip too. Go get yourself equipment. You want to start doing more shows? Go learn how to host and get equipment. There's a lot of bad hosts out there. So don't just buy equipment and be a host, but go watch good hosts and do what they do. And make sure when you tell someone like a Mike Katroba that you're a comic, also say, yeah, I have a PA as well. And you might get
a PA is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get paid more. So think about that. So
Yep. So if you have the
A-
expendable cash and you want to buy it, you can hopefully get some shows and pay it off, and then work your way up that way too.
Because
And
money wise,
being a host, you get to get up on the mic multiple times a night, so you at least get that repetition. And then if somebody gets off stage and shit didn't go their way, you get to do an extra joke in here and there. Try to win the crowd back.
it's true. It's true. That is nice. That is a good part of it. Usually by the end of the night, you can get some good stuff in and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, the PA thing's a great thing. I think that if you can swing it, think about a regular spot you get at a showcase or a, just regular opening gig. It's usually between like $10. Actually, it's between $0 and $50. Is that fair to say? We're talking showcases here. Not hosting, just like being on the showcase, like doing a show for a random thing.
I would say 0 to 25.
There you go. All right,
I've never gotten more than 25 for a showcase.
Okay, good. You went into my point instead of away from my point, which is good. And if you have a PA, you're usually getting over $100 for a show. So think about that. Think about that. That's 4 regular showcase shows you got to do, or infinity if you got paid $0. So if
also be aware that hosting a show is a lot of fucking work.
it's so
crazy
much
work.
worse. It's so much worse than doing a showcase. God damn.
I love hosting. It's worse on a showcase, 100%. But like just in general, I like hosting, but it is so much work.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem like it, but it's a lot of work.
Because you like it, that's gonna be your fate. You're gonna.
That's fine. I enjoy it.
I have seen a couple headliners that will go up like Sweeney did to me and murder me in front of my family by doing his set before mine, which was so fucked up. But he likes, because he's just comfortable up there, knows it goes. I'm very like cold crowd. It's just, I'm a jokey. I got to connect with crowds more, and then I will definitely be able to host with feeling as comfortable as I do in the middle. I got to find, like today I wrote a billboard joke that I sent you, which I hope that that's not taken, because electronic billboard, I don't know. You're right, everything is taken, but
I think it's probably been done somewhere, but I've never heard it. So I'd say fucking go for it. It's a hilarious concept.
yeah, well, it's an effort to connect to the people more. I notice a lot of headliners will talk, and they use structured jokes that they use for every town, obviously, but they use stuff to kind of connect with the city that they're in. And
It was the one you heard Louis C.K. do. You heard him do it in Lowell, and then you heard him do it in like Portland or something like that.
I heard him do it in New Jersey and then in Lowell. He said, "This is
almost the same place."
Yeah, yeah, I know. He said, "We are standing in the nicest building in many miles of this place," was the idea from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was like, "This is such a shitty city, but this is such a nice building in the city." And that was the first, I thought he did it off the cuff when we saw it in Lowell. And then I went to New Jersey and he said the same thing. I was like, holy shit, they don't, like, even the beginning stuff is planted.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that
was a big awakening.
How do you feel about that with kind of like knowing how the sausage is made in terms of comedy? You see somebody like Louis do that, or you see like a crowd work comic, and it seems like everything's right off the cuff. And a lot of times it could be, but you also know that it's most likely not. They're looking for somebody in a wheelchair so they can pop that joke out. They're looking for a lesbian couple so they can pop that joke out. They're looking for a guy wearing a pink shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's a good crowd work comic versus a shitty crowd work comic. You want to know what the difference is? Repetitions. The good crowd work comic has gotten the guy in the wheelchair before, has had the interaction, has gotten the gold out of it from failing and from succeeding. Now he's got it locked in the chamber. So you just get experiences dialed in. It's the same thing from regular stand-up, too. In my bit of mistakes where I compare my kids to Pearl Harbor, there when I say Pearl Harbor, it never gets a laugh, and I'm not trying to. It is I know it kind of takes the air out of the room a little bit. It's to aid the misdirect, but it took me a bunch of times to realize that and time it properly. And you just got to keep fucking doing it. That'd be the overall tip.
Yeah. It's funny you have that, and I was really kind of comparing that with my mom's throat cancer joke that I do. It's like, that takes the air out of the room, and you have a way to kind of address that the same way I do, where I talk about my mom dying of throat cancer and people get really quiet. And I noticed for a while when I was doing that joke, it'd almost be like too quiet, and the punchline always landed, but I felt it was too much darkness before a laugh. That's where I threw in the, I'm trying to bring the energy up line, which always gets a huge laugh, which it was kind of breaks it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that the other day. That's not a tip or anything. That's just something I was thinking about when watching you the other night. I was like, yeah, it's similar in theory, those two jokes.
Yeah, I want to. Structure-wise, definitely, and I want to work on, like, I noticed that Navigation and Wicked Funny using pauses to awkward points was actually useful in a couple. So if you hold a pause long enough, people will laugh. They just will laugh because it gets awkward, and people will laugh there. So sometimes if a joke doesn't land, you feel like you need to jump into another joke right away to go. Sometimes just sit in it. Sit in the joke, be like, no. You don't actually even say no. Make your face say no. Just give one of those things, but stay in the pause. And I got a huge laugh off of where, at one point in a joke where I just stayed in it, and it helped out. You can dig your way to the other side.
Yeah, Christine Hurley is the best at that. We've talked about that before, but
not even
just
close
using
to
pauses
better.
to get a laugh.
She holds it. If she's getting a laugh, she'll just wait. She waits till the last person's done laughing in the room to start her next joke. And I think because of that, she gets like an extra 10 seconds of laughter per joke.
Yeah.
Because it will build up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of thinker jokes that it takes a couple seconds to get. So if I let the first wave of laughs go, like especially at Wicked Funny this happened, I would get a big laugh and I would just wait because there would be people getting it after the first people got it. And I got another couple rumbles of laughs. I think it was California Sober in the beginning. I say I like weed more than I want this to go well. And that got a big laugh, and then another wave went, and then people started clapping, and it was an applause break. That was all from waiting.
Was that your
just
first
started
applause
my
break?
next joke? No. Gotten a couple.
Isn't that great?
It's nice. It feels good.
Yeah.
I do like those.
I had
That's not
I think it was my first applause break at the Merrimack Beer Garden during my Down for Love joke, the diabetic dating part.
Yeah, I
And
remember
that first time that it ever happened gave me some tinglies in some places. It was nice.
Yeah, an act of God, my little ran past Israel part.
Yeah.
That got a that got an applause break at the Comedy Den.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, that was
good.
the biggest one I ever got.
Have you thought about what you're going to do with that Israel's always at war, but when that's settled, what you're going to do with that part?
Yeah, there's a million things he can jog right past, so I'm not worried because that structure set up so easily to knock down. He can jog past whatever the worst thing in the world is at the time. What I want to do, though, is create a rule of three or, example for that style because I end on a really not raunchy, but it's a pretty hard punchline that sometimes doesn't hit if I'm doing like an opening set. And so what I'm doing on opening sets now is putting Act of God in the middle. Just so if it doesn't hit, I got another joke right afterwards. I want to end on a good note. But I think I can change the structure of it to work in other places too. Like, God puts his head and goes past Israel like this, and then he sells the cure for child sadness for this, and that type of thing. I was talking to you about it.
Yeah. Or maybe you could just have like different ways of going past the world's problems. Like maybe like he tiptoes past fucking child labor in China.
Exactly.
Not to wake him during nap time.
Yep. And that's a good example, which is hilarious. That's a good example of being able to, like, if you talked to me a couple months ago, I would have been like, they can take my God ending and they can fuck themselves with it if they don't like it. That's what they're getting. And now I'm like, I can have alternate versions of the joke where I go in this direction if I want to, get a soft landing, and I can go in this direction if I want it to be a hard landing. If I'm in the middle of the lineup, like I went right before Sweeney the other night, so I'm deep into the lineup of the show, I'll end hard. Who cares? I get to say, I'm Anthony Eugenio, thank you, and you get a big laugh after, a big applause there. If it doesn't hit the way I want it to, it's over anyways. Where if, like, you're a host and you need a big laugh for your last joke so you can bring the next person on properly, you should have a different... Like, I, at a private gig, I did that Act of God joke, and must have been a religious crowd, because the last punchline, it got a couple groans, and it didn't really get much.
Religious people seem to have a really good sense of humor, though. Maybe the problem is you.
Yep. No, it was me. It's always you. It's for sure always you. But, because it was just tough, because I had to bring up the next guy afterwards, and that was my last joke, and it kind of fucking sucked. And I did so well in every other joke. You know what I did, though? I stayed in the pause, and I did get some nervous laughter. I was like, you guys sure? You sure you like it? And I was able to get a good roll before I brought up the next guy, but it was a good example.
A tip, one I don't really have any other ones, but one that I was thinking about just now was, me and you always had each other to bounce shit off of, and I don't think a lot of people have this, but find some comics that you can do like a writing session with, even if it's over Zoom. We did it with Jacques and me and you, and we're trying to set one up with a couple other people as well now. But we had such a good time. Like, I think we talked for like 2 hours. Well, me and Jacques were talking for almost an hour before you popped on. And then you were on for an hour. So we had a long time. We all walked away with really good feedback and new jokes, actual new jokes. Like one that I tried the very next night and murdered, that Jacques gave me. He helped.
Don't say murdered about Carter, you son of a bitch.
What? It wasn't 19 Carter.
Oh, yeah, the show I wasn't
at. It was
at.
101 people at Loudon.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about 19 Carter. I was like, what is... I was about to say, what is Loudon then if 19 Carter is murdered? Now, listen, sometimes I'm wrong. It's rare. I know. But this is one of those. Keep going, baby.
Yeah. No, so I just think get together with other comics, either in person or even through Zoom, and just take an hour and everybody take a couple jokes and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. What do you guys think? And just spitball ideas. And don't be afraid to give away funny thoughts. Rising tides raise all ships, I think.
That's it.
That was it. I got it right.
That is the metaphor. There's nothing worse for your point than when you go gingerly into a metaphor like that. So don't listen to Wayne and everybody. Whatever he just said, don't do that tip. Don't ever bounce anything off of anybody. Just own it.
I did have one other one too. And
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, no, as we're talking, things just keep coming. But another one is just be happy for your friends. You know what I mean?
Don't.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing in the Rising Tides. Be happy for your friends when they get something that you don't. Just enjoy it.
Don't be so vindictive about when people do that to you. Listen, if they get it, you have less. That's the point. So that's the fucking thing. Don't be happy for anybody if they get a show. Look at them and go, why don't I have the show? And then when they get it, go, he sucks or she sucks, especially if they are better than you and you do inside know it. Double down. That person fucking blows. Why do they get a shot on that show? I should be on that show every time, especially if they're your friends. Like I said this on the podcast. I said it to Obi-Wan Kenobi. I said it to you. If you made it to the finals and I didn't, I would have had to, we talked about earlier the versions of what I had to say to it, because I would have been so goddamn jealous. I couldn't live with myself. I wouldn't.
You would have had to unalive yourself.
Exactly. People are like, you happy for Wayne? I'm like, not yet. Wait till I also get there. I'll be so happy for him once I also get to the finals. But yeah, here's the serious part of this. You should be happy for your friends. Duh. But you won't be sometimes. Sometimes it's jealousy. That's part of the game. You want things. People are always going to get it. There's always a person getting farther than you, quicker than you in this.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times you're going to know them because we're all in this together. So you got.
It really is a small community.
It is.
Except when it's not. I feel like the online community is so much bigger. Like the amount of places we've been, the amount of people that we know, and there's still people bitching on the Facebooks. And I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I mean, you don't go on those. That's
There's
why
a lot
don't
of
go on
feminist bots out there. I'm just saying.
Well, you gotta have
Fembots?
ladies' night.
Are those fembots? Oh no,
Boston Powers
no.
ones, yeah.
Those are the sexy ones.
Those were sexy. Yeah, these are different. These are real ones. I mean, it's the same. Like, I'm a person, but if I was in a movie, you might cast Chris Pratt or something, and then if he played in my life, right? And then you see me, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that's what you really look like. Maybe fembots are what the movie version is, but in real life, fembots are really gross people that we see at shows.
I wouldn't cast Chris Pratt for you.
I'm not saying that he looks like me, you asshole. I'm saying how much better looking he is than me, right? Because movies, the guys are better looking. In real life, they're usually not. Don't you get it?
I guess, yeah.
The llama from Emperor's New Groove, okay? Is that better? Fuck.
No, I've used that one before. I've used it.
Cusco? Is that his name?
Emu? Yeah, Cusco.
An emu, yeah. I mean,
my favorite was the emu. This is...
Dude, that picture haunts me. Yeah, hey, listen, I can take it, world. You sometimes you look like John Stamos, and sometimes you look like his asshole. There's only a couple things you can be.
Speaking of John Stamos, he's like tight in with the Beach Boys.
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
Right,
you're like
he's
fucking
pretty tight with
saying
the Beach
it
Boys.
like.
So have
cool.
you seen the video? This is me connecting the dots like a beautiful mind. Have you seen the video of Brian Wilson on stage? It was like from like a week ago. Brian Wilson's on stage at a Beach Boys concert, and he's just sitting there while all of the backup band is playing, all the singers and everybody who's way younger than him because they just replaced all the members, and he's literally just sitting there like Biden, just like watching everybody sing. It's like it's all his songs and everything. They're all singing just like him, and he's just like,
Dude, I'm experiencing that with the Wiggles.
The Wiggles, they gotta be old now.
There's
They gotta be like the Crackles now.
They don't wiggle as much, that's for sure. And one of them is like one of the. He's like a giant. He's got giant's blood in him. And when he was younger, he would play. He's the red with the red shirt Wiggle. He would play the guitar now, and they did a documentary on the Wiggles that I saw where they bring him back, and he's just a fucking. He's like, I am the Wiggle. He's just a big giant.
He's like the Great Khali.
Yes, exactly. And like you could see when the production assistant walks in the room, she's like, when she sees him and that type of thing. And now he has to every once in a while do like cameos on stage with the new Red Wiggle, and the new Red Wiggle's like, God damn, man. Like, this guy's so old.
The other one I love is all the videos of Frankie Valli. Have you seen this?
No, I don't know who that is.
You don't know Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons? They sang like December, was it 1963? Big Girls Don't Cry, Sherry Baby.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I thought you were talking about something new.
He's still doing concerts, but he's obviously like lip syncing because he's barely moving his mouth and he doesn't blink. He looks like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. He's literally just on stage doing one of these. And his mouth is moving like a half an inch at a time. I'll send you some videos later, but it's absolutely incredible. It's sad. I just really hope he enjoys it.
BB King was close to that at the end because he was so fat. He would just sit on stage with his guitar. He'd be like, he never lip sync, but he would just like ramble stories and then play. He'd be like, it was a hot Alabama day. And I was just, it was my wife, and I was like, bitch, pancakes. I was saying, and then he did that for 2 hours. So he did that until he died.
That's incredible.
It was pretty funny. BB King, baby. All right, well, we're out of tips. So do we have anything else before we
I do. I have one last tip.
Always fucking have something.
Always have one last tip.
I'm always got one last thing.
Always.
It's usually really dumb. Break the mold.
Always carry a flute with you. It'll be a worthy step for the quest for laughs.
Good night. Is that too inside jokey? We should have explained it. Should we talk about it?